gonna put some dirt in your eye.
This is something else.
I need that money.
See you, chump.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Alright, thanks for the introduction, Bully. That's a look at what we'll be doing today. The retargeting to that mesh is not included, but we'll be learning how to make the player character die when the AI catches him. Alright, here we go. Okay, so this time I'm going to start the AI from scratch, and I'm going to duplicate the sandbox character rather than create a child class. That way this will be its own class rather than a child of the sandbox character. And I'm going to duplicate the APB sandbox character animation blueprint as well. And I'll rename that like sandbox character NPC. And then I want to open that up. And we want to go to the set references function and open that up. And rather than cast to the sandbox character, we want to cast to the sandbox character NPC that we just created. So delete that and go ahead and pull off of that and cast to sandbox character NPC. And we're going to want to change this variable type on this. See, this can't connect right now, so we need to change this to the NPC class that we just created as well. So search for CPB NPC sandbox character, that one, object reference, and we want to change the variable type. This will change every instance of that sandbox character in this blueprint to the NPC that we just created. All right, let's go ahead and refresh this node, and let's go ahead and change the name of this variable now that we changed it to the NPC. So just change it to sandbox character NPC. All right, now let's reconnect these nodes into the movement input as well. All right, and we want to make sure that we set the sandbox character NPC, so drag that into the set character NPC as well, and then hit compile, and then we want to go to where it's giving us an error, so click on the error, and then we want to refresh that node, and we want to pull out and find gate. This will find the gate of the NPC rather than the old sandbox character, which is that is trying to find a reference to, and we want to connect the gate to that switch on gate node. All right, and then we want to go compile that, and then go to the next part where it's erroring out. Click on that, and it'll take us right there. We want to refresh this as well, and just go ahead and plug that right into the get actor transform. Hit compile, and that looks like all we need to do. Okay, back in the NPC sandbox character blueprint that we just created, we want to select all and delete most of this. So control and then drag and deselect that, and control and then deselect that right here, the event tick and the event possessed, and delete everything else. We want to save the traversal events and the landed. Okay, so this is what we want to save, and then from that, from the event tick at the end of the update camera, we want to add movement input, and now we want to get actor location. We want to get two actor locations, the NPC and the player character. So get player character and drag that into the second get actor location. Now from the top get actor location, we want to get direction vector, get unit direction vector, and then plug the player character location into the 2, and from the return value, plug that into the world direction in the add movement input node. And now on the mesh, compile and save. On the mesh, we want to give it that animation blueprint we just created. So rather than the sandbox character APB, we want the APB sandbox character NPC. Okay. Let's add a death custom event inside the player characters sandbox character event graph. So right click and search for custom event and create one, and let's call it death_CE. This will be the function that calls on the player character's death when he's caught. Off of that function, let's search for play anim montage node. Let's go ahead and create a montage with the animation I added in the link to this video, and let's go ahead and choose that, the death montage. You could choose any death you like though from Mixamo. From this return value, let's go ahead and pull off of that and subtract, and let's subtract a value of like 0.3, and off of that let's create a delay node, Let's connect that to the play anim montage node. And this will basically delay to the very end of the animation, except for the very end, okay? And we want to drag the mesh out into the event graph, and off of that we want to pause anims, set pause of anims, and we want to collect that to the delay node. And let's select true for pause anims. That will pause all the animations, because if you don't pause the animation right before the end of it, it will start looping because it's part of the anim montage. Alright, from the pause anim node, we want to set tick enabled. We want to set that to false, so we're not constantly updating movement in camera. We want to get player controller, and from that we want to set UI mode to UI, or set input mode to UI only, so that we can't add movement inputs for our player character. Alright, so he'll just be dead on the ground. And this is what this achieves. Okay, so let's go back to the NPC character blueprint and let's create a sphere collision. So let's click on the capsule and click add, and let's search for sphere and add sphere collision. And let's drag that out in front of him a little bit, and let's increase the size of the sphere radius to about 40 or so. And this will detect if the player character is in front of him. And if it is, we'll call that death event we created. So let's go ahead and click on the sphere, and we want to create an event. So on the details panel, let's go find events, and on component for begin overlap sphere, let's go ahead and create that event. From the other actor node, we will cast to sandbox character, CBP sandbox character. That's our player character. And from that sandbox character node, we want to call the death custom event that we created. And now we want to call tick, set actor tick enabled, and we want to set that to false as well to stop all the updating camera movement and player movement. We want to drag out the spring arm, and from that we want to set rotation, set relative rotation, and on the Z we will put 180. This will rotate the camera to the front of the NPC character to kind of showcase the person that just killed you. We want to get player controller, and from that we want to set view target with blend. This node blends our camera to the AI's camera, so we want to get reference to self for the AI. Alright, so when you die, the camera will slowly move. We want to set the blend time to about 3 seconds, so it'll take about 3 seconds to switch from our camera to the AI's camera. From that node, we want to search off, and we want to set a jump node, and we want to delay off of that jump node. We will start a delay for about 1 second, and then from that completed, we will set back to the front of the jump node. Okay, select the spring arm and change do collision test to false and use pawn controlled rotation to false. Search for rotation and set orient rotation to movement true, and allow physics rotation during anim root true. And then wants to strafe set to false. These will have your AI move correctly, so they won't walk backwards to you and things like that. Okay, so now we're going to create a game over widget. Let's right click, search for user interface, choose widget blueprint, select user widget, and create that. I'm going to name it gameover_W. Go ahead and open that up. Let's go ahead and search for overlay. You could use a canvas panel if you'd like. I like overlays because I don't like to mess with anchors. Let's search for horizontal box. Let's drag that into the overlay and make it a child of the overlay. Let's search for vertical box. Let's drag that into the horizontal box and make that a child of that. Let's search for border. Let's drag that into the vertical box and make it a child of the vertical box. And let's search for button, and let's drag that into the vertical box as well. We'll do this twice for 2 buttons, one for restart and one for quit. On the horizontal box, let's go ahead and position that. Let's go ahead and put it all the way to the right and then to the center. Now let's add some text to the border. Let's go ahead and drag that into the border. Let's go ahead and change the size of the text to 60, something bigger. Let's go ahead and change the text to game over. Let's go ahead and select the border and change the opacity or the border color. Let's go ahead and change that to a little bit darker, and let's change the alpha so we can see through that, so we can see the game over text. Let's move this over so we can see that's working. It is. Hit OK. Let's go ahead and change the positioning of this horizontal box a little bit. Let's go to the right and give it about 100 padding. Okay. So let's go ahead and add some text to these buttons. Drag that text into the button. Go ahead and change the style of this button first. Let's go ahead and drop down the style. Let's go to the normal first. Select the tinting. Let's go ahead and change the alpha. Change it to make it a little bit darker first. Change the alpha. That's good. Let's go to the pressed. Select the tint there. I'm going to make it a little green. I'm going to make it a little darker. It's not a perfect science. I'm going to go to pressed, and I'm going to make this a brighter green. And change the alpha. And I forgot to do that on the previous one, so I'm going to go back and change the alpha on that real quick. Alright, now I want to hold shift down and right click on style. And on the other button I want to hold down shift and left click. That will paste the style from one button to the other. Let's go ahead and change the text to say restart. Let's go ahead and change the letter spacing a little bit. I'm going to add an outline to my text of 1. And I'm going to copy this text and paste it to the button below it, so that has the same font and style. And I'll just change the text to say quit instead of restart. Okay. Now I want to make these buttons variables so that I can call on them in the event graph of this widget. So select the button. Let's go ahead and name this one to restart and check is variable. And then on the second one, let's go ahead and change this to quit and check is variable. Let's compile and save. Now we want to go into the graph. When this widget is opened on the event construct, we want to get player controller and drag. Let's delete this tick real quick. Let's drag this out and set show mouse cursor. Let's set this to true so we can see our mouse cursor. Let's select quit, the quit button variable, and select on clicked, and let's do the same for restart. On quit, let's drag off of that and search for quit game. Alright, we're done there. That will quit the game. From the on clicked restart, let's get level name. Let's search for open level by name. Let's drag the return value of the get level name into the level name for open level by name. Let's connect the on clicked restart to the get level name and then connect that to open level by name. Let's copy and paste this get player controller and set show mouse cursor, and let's make that false now. Let's copy and paste the player controller, and we want to set input to game only. That way we can use our movement input again. And so restart the level and give us our input back. And then we want to remove this widget, this game over screen, from our viewport, from our screen. And that will do that. All right, compile and save. And let's call this widget from the death event and the player character custom event. From the very end of that, let's go ahead and create widget. And let's call the game over widget we just created. And from that return value, let's add to viewport. And this will add the widget to our screen when we die. Okay, let's test it out. Oh, wait, first off, before we do this, In the NPC blueprint, right after it casts to the sandbox character, do once before calling the death event, because we don't want to call it multiple times. We only want to call the death event once. Let's check it out.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
See you, chump.
I missed the part where that's my problem. I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
This is something else.
I need that money.
See you, chump.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
All right, here's the mesh that I got. Shout out to 100 Ways to Win. Great work on that mesh. All right, everybody, thanks for stopping by. I will see you next time. Take care.